I think we can all agree that doom scrolling on social media is usually a bad idea. However, every once in a while, something good can come from it. One night on Twitter, I stumbled across this little montage from the very first Pokemon movie. And like everybody else on the planet, I'm a total sucker for nostalgia. The clip that really got me was the one with Mew. It instantly reminded me of the ancient Mew card that I've had ever since I was a kid. To this day, I still have no idea how people officially got that card, but I can tell you how I got mine. By trading away my brownie Lunchable every single day for an entire month at summer camp. And it was totally worth it. The second I saw that clip, I knew I wanted to paint it. But before jumping straight to the canvas, I wanted to experiment a little bit first. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is prep the canvas with a glaze. It's a mix of satin glazing liquid, primary magenta, and a bit of burnt sienna. I actually started this step before opening my sketchbook since the satin glazing liquid slows drying time just a little bit. The glaze warms up the entire surface and makes sure no bright white canvas peeks through later. It just makes the whole painting feel more cohesive in the end. Once that's covered in 2 coats, I'll set it aside to dry and move over to my sketchbook. This is where I'll test color combinations and techniques before committing to the final piece. For this painting, I wanted to try 2 different styles. Style 1 starts with a light base and builds darker tones on top for smooth shading. Style 2 starts with dark and layers lighter colors for a more textured look. In Style 1, I'm using a flat brush for those soft blends. In Style 2, I'm switching to a stiff bristle brush so you can actually see the brush strokes build up. Both styles have their own mood, but after testing, I decided to go with Style 1. It just felt right for this piece. Now back to the canvas. I've mixed up a few shades of my main color and I'm starting with the darkest one first. I like working from dark to light, it really makes the highlights stand out later. I divided the canvas into rock panels, starting with the center one where the Mew carving will go. Each layer gets a little lighter to build up lighting and depth. I'm using a screenshot from the movie as a reference to keep the highlights and the shadows consistent. But here's where things kind of went sideways. The colors just weren't warm enough and they felt kind of lifeless, so I ended up just remixing everything and starting again. It's definitely frustrating, but I really wanted to leave this part in because it's honestly such a common part of painting. You never know how a color is going to look until it's actually on the canvas in front of you. Alright, so here's round 2 with a warmer palette that fits the vibe way better. Once I was happy with the center, I painted the side panels slightly darker so the middle really stands out. Next, I sketched out the Mew carving that I wanted to transfer. I coated the back with graphite, taped the sketch down, and then traced it, which usually gives a clean outline right on the canvas. Then, I used an X-Acto knife to cut out the shapes and painted over them with a darker shade. Once the paint dried and the tape came off, that's when the Mew really started to take shape. I wanted it to look carved into the rock and not sitting on top of it, so I added darker shadows and subtle highlights to make it look more engraved. At one point, I used a black acrylic paint marker to define it, but the lines ended up looking way too harsh, like it was sitting on the surface again. To fix that, I mixed a reddish-brown wash using satin glazing liquid and brushed it over the whole surface. The glaze softened the harsh lines and pulled everything back together. Now Mew looks like part of the rock again. Once that layer dried, I dabbed parts of the wall with a paper towel to lift some of the wash and add texture. It's a simple trick, but it makes the rock look more natural and easy on the eyes. Now it's time for the ivy. I covered the painting with painter's tape again, sketched the leaf pattern on top, and carefully cut out each leaf. I started with a dark green base coat, then peeled off the tape and outlined the leaves in white so I can see them clearly for the next layers. After that, I built up color from dark to light, layering bright greens and highlights until the ivy started to look alive. I outlined my leaves with my black paint marker again, and same problem. The lines looked a little too sharp. So I mixed one last glaze, raw umber and satin glazing liquid, and brushed it over the edges. It instantly tied everything together. The ivy now looked like it was growing around the rock instead of just sitting on top. And it also drew your eyes right back to the center, to that ancient Mew carving. And with that, the painting is complete. I sealed it with a layer of gloss varnish, and now it's ready to head off to its new home in Germany. It's kind of wild that a random doom scrolling session led me back to this childhood memory and inspired this piece. Painting is something I'll always do, whether or not it's for content, but I am really happy that I get to share it with you all. If you enjoyed watching this video, feel free to let me know what Pokemon you'd like to see me paint next. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.